I was not paying attention to the clock. And I want to apologize because you're going to have to put up with this nasty, messed up voice.
Oh, and if you think it's bad over on that side, you should hear it here in the studio.
Which I hope, sincerely hope, that by the time we do our prophecy update tomorrow, my voice will be much better because we got a lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and look at this. I mean, Happy New Year. I mean,
bro, Happy New Year. This is the last broadcast of the, live show of the year.
Yep. I mean, next time we talk, it's going to be 2026.
Next year. Do you believe that?
Oh, and I was going over some of the things that have happened in 2025.
Oh.
And I actually went into some of the websites that talked about where we were in 2024 at this time, December 2024. Oh my! I mean, we can just go through that quickly and talk about how big a difference between December 2024 and December 2025. I mean,
well, and then the other thing, and this is massive. Like, this is a big deal, right? But Israel being the first country in the world to acknowledge Somaliland.
Okay, we need to get into that.
And it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Not even small.
We need to kind of, but I'd like to kind of give a little bit of a background about that. But where do we want to go? Where do we want to start? We want to go back to 2024.
Well, how about we do that? Why don't I give you the floor a little bit? Because, of course, my voice is shot. So you obviously have some there. Why don't you share with that a little bit, and then we'll move on to the next.
Well, if I could somehow just zoom you guys back to where we were a year ago in this period in 2024, and what the big difference. One of the things that came up on my feed was that the whole Grim Beeper thing, I don't know if you remember.
That was a great operation.
That happened in September of 2024.
That's right.
If we'd have gone back to December of 2024, I think Hassan Nasrallah from the Hezbollah had just been taken out. So you've got the beeper event that happened in Hezbollah. So basically, if I could zoom you back to 2024, this period, we're in the middle of the war with Hezbollah in the north. We're in the middle of the war with Gaza in the south. The regime in Syria has not changed, and we're worried that Syria is going to become another theater of offense. Iran is using all of its proxies. My mom's scuttling to the bomb shelter every week or two because the Houthis in Yemen have decided that they're going to shoot something. The hostages are still in Gaza, and nobody knows what the whole situation is going to lead to.
Oh, yeah.
And the elections have just taken place. I mean, if I remember, Trump was elected in November 24.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the elections have just now taken place, meaning we know, okay, that Biden is still in office. Okay, but we know that Trump is now the president, but the regime, the administration is Biden. Everybody's on the edge. We know that this isn't going to work, and boom, we move into 2025, and everything turns upside down. And just thinking about the list of things that I could lay out here about major elements, I mean, each one of them would have been a major element in its own, and we got all of them kind of condensed into 2025. So, I mean...
it's a big deal. And then going into 2026, Israel did something in Africa that there's literally no turning back from. I mean, in all honesty, they cannot turn back from the decision that they made there, and it's going to change a lot of things.
I'm going to add on that when you glue what they did in Africa to what they did in the Eastern Mediterranean,
what
we've done in the Eastern Mediterranean, this is all going to connect. So one more thing. I mean, I remember feeling a sense of despair at this time last year.
Oh, yeah.
Of how is this going to end? How is this going to turn? Okay, so we've
got maybe in September. Maybe not at this time last year. At this time last year, I think you were very positive because keep this in mind. Nasrallah was killed.
Yeah.
Operation Grim Beeper had been happening. Israel had gained a major footing in the southern part of Lebanon.
All right.
So there were a lot. I mean, you were definitely, I was feeling a lot more optimistic at this time last year. It was around September prior to the election, right around the time that Netanyahu addressed the United Nations, I was a little more concerned.
Yes. But yeah, we're in a place. But here's the thing: we know that it's changed. We haven't seen the change yet. And the fall of Syria and everything. I mean, the fall of the Hezbollah in Lebanon, which resulted in the fall of Syria later on. I mean, those are the major changes. We didn't have this agreement that we had. We hadn't had the 12-day war with Iran.
Right.
We hadn't had America blowing out their nuclear capabilities. We hadn't had 57 Muslim nations signing on an agreement with the United States with the new Abrahamic Accords. I mean, we hadn't had the hostages were still in Gaza. I mean, think about all of these things.
Listen. It was a different situation.
It was a different world.
Undoubtedly. But I mean, now, like, just stopping to consider what's going on, I mean, just for the value of what happened with how the African Union is no longer going to carry the same kind of weight they used to by one foul swoop. I mean, think about it. If look, with Somaliland, if for whatever reason, the rest of the African world does not want to acknowledge the validity of what Israel chose to acknowledge, then the African Union becomes spineless. And if the African Union becomes spineless, then the Horn of Africa is just completely gone.
So I'm going to hold that there because I want to go into it a little bit deeper and kind of
Well, obviously.
Let's go into that. But I want to return to something else, and this is really important for me to say here today. From the depth of the despair from a year and 2 months ago to where we are right now, more than anything, I want to say, praise God. Thank God that how deep the despair, the valley of the shadow of Balagan that was going on.
Oh, yeah.
At this point last year, and we didn't know, God has turned everything upside down in the Middle East, in Israel, I'm going to say in the United States of America, in so many different things. And I just want to remind everybody, because we're going to go into a lot of details about the geopolitics and about the military. And I mean, hallelujah, we've got a new laser system up and running now. I mean, so many things that are going to play a role in what's going on. But I just want to kind of contrast the feeling that I feel today with the feeling that I felt this time last year. And I want to say, praise God. That's what I want to put on the table before we get going. And we can start going into all the different connections as we go on.
Yeah, and look, there is a lot to thank the Lord for, especially in seeing the things that have been happening. I'm a little stricken right now by what I know is going to inevitably take place with respect to what's happened in Africa. I think it's a big deal. Like I don't think that people are putting enough of a weight on it right now.
So let's go into that. Can we dive into it a little bit
let's
deeper?
do it, because we could talk about the 25, 26 stuff a little bit later.
Yep.
I think it's such a huge deal. I don't think it's small. I think it's major. We're going to put up a map for you guys just so that you understand what's going on, because this is no small thing, okay? I want everybody to understand this. Like what we're dealing with here, what we're facing is not this is not small. This is big.
This is massive.
A super big deal.
Okay, let me explain the map. If you're looking at the map right now, let's see if you get a picture. So what I want you to zoom in is that little bit of red down there at the bottom of the map. The bottom of the map actually indicates where the Indian Ocean on the right connects to the Red Sea on the left. You can see that stroke of water. By the way, that's the Bab el-Mandeb right now, where the choke point, where the Houthis have been making so much of a problem. And on the Horn of Africa, what they call literally the Horn of Africa, is a nation called Somalia, which, by the way, is in the news a lot today in America.
Oh, it's a dump. Somalia is a dump.
Yeah, but look at what we're talking about. The whole Minnesota thing people from Somalia, okay? The whole Ilhan Omar, okay, thing. But the corner of the Horn of Africa is this nation called Somalia, but they're really, really broken up. It is really a destroyed nation, a failed nation. And the part that is in red that you see as a part of what it was traditionally Somalia that is broken away from the rest of the Somali government. They call themselves Somaliland. They're a different ethnic group from the rest of Somali, and they actually have been fighting a civil war in order to create independence in the area of Somalia that you see in the red there in the corner. Now, nobody has recognized them. Nobody has accepted them, but Israel, I think a week and a half ago, was the first country to recognize the independence of Somaliland on that exact spot. Now, look at the spot that we're talking about. Look at the strategic importance, because when we were talking about the Houthim and controlling the shipping going through the Bab el-Mandeb and controlling all the shipping that comes from India and China towards, the Mediterranean Sea through the Suez Canal, we're talking about that spot, and Israel actually has a foothold in that very, very strategic place in the world. And I heard this morning that the president of Somaliland now is thanking Israel for supporting them and for recognizing them. And then he did something else. One, he agreed to join the Abrahamic Accords. So he's getting in with President Trump.
Which we knew would happen.
Two, okay, he's agreed to take Gaza civilians, Gaza people from Gaza, and let them live in Somaliland, meaning the Gazans who want to leave the Gaza situation have a place to go. There's a country, a Muslim country, that has accepted them. And number three, he's agreed to put an Israeli military base in Somaliland.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
And just look at the strategic importance on all three of these levels.
And let me show you why this is so significant. I want everybody to see this because this map isn't going to do it justice. So I'm going to switch it over to another map, okay, so that you guys can see this, because I think it's really, really important for you to understand just how consequential this could actually become, okay? Now, as you look at this map here, there are a series of issues. Now, I want you to imagine this a little bit, okay, because when you go further north into the Red Sea, okay, you go super north, you're going to get into this little area where there's a gateway that takes you into the Mediterranean. This is Egypt's territory. And this is very important to understand because Egypt's territory is something that right now is highly contested. By the way, there's a big water debate going on right now in Egypt that's being fueled by Somalia. Okay, and there's a massive reason for that. I don't know if we're going to be able to get into the geopolitics that drives that. We probably should to a degree. Now, some of you might say, well, Somalia is so far south of Egypt. Why in the world does Somalia have anything to do with that? Well, it has everything to do with one of the rivers. But besides that, let's just put that aside for just a second, okay? You have to be able to go through the Suez Canal. This is Egypt controlled in order to get anything shipped traditionally if you're going to use the Red Sea. The Red Sea is still very important for shipping. Now, there are redrawing lines, obviously. Saudi Arabia is changing how shipment is going, and obviously that's going to make a big difference. There's a lot to be said there. But with all of that said, I want you to take a look at the significance of the map that you're viewing right now, okay? I want you specifically to focus on Yemen, because Yemen is the southern portion of the Arabian Peninsula. They are sworn enemies of Saudi Arabia. They are sworn enemies pretty much of everybody in the Gulf Coalition Council, okay? And well, the only member of the GCC that is not an enemy of the Yemenis is Qatar.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to. I should probably mention that. Okay, so they have become a huge problem. Okay, they've become a huge problem. He just mentioned the Bab el-Mandeb, this little problem. Okay, which is where this little cutoff is that you see by Djibouti. Okay, but there's bigger issues at hand here, and I think they're really, really important. Because people don't think of Hodeidah and El Salif even though they are significant, they've been made much less significant because of what Israel's done with their bombers, okay? But you still have the problems of the entry point into the Gulf of Aden, okay? And notice what is directly below the Gulf of Aden, okay? This is Somalia. If Israel is allowed to have a base in this area that we know as Somaliland, you now have the southern portion of that corridor completely secured, and you now also have the guarantee of the United States of America to keep it secure because its greatest ally is in the region. It's no small thing. Not to mention the fact that some of the long-term geopolitical effects that this could have are significant, okay? Because if this recognition eventually leads to other things, the first thing that it will bring in is intelligence cooperation, port access, dual-use infrastructure. It's going to do all of that.
Well, here's what I love about this, and I heard it on the Israeli TV. What Israel is doing is saying to the world and to our enemies, we can do the proxy thing also.
Oh, not only do
we can do the proxy. We can hold you accountable. We can close off shipping at Bab el Mandeb because if the Iranians attack us, we can decide we're not going to allow any Iranian tankers to go through the Straits of Hormuz to Europe.
And do you think it's a coincidence that in the Caribbean we just intercepted an Iranian tanker?
Yep.
We not only just intercepted that tanker, but we are now going to confiscate the oil.
So what Israel is doing here is extending its power in the way that the enemy has been doing. And I think, and here's the thing, and maybe this is to connect to what we talked to before. The main difference between this period in 2024 and this period in 2025 is that Israel's on the offensive.
Oh, yeah.
That is the main issue. And we need to talk about the Netanyahu, the Bibi Trump romance that is going on in Mar-a-Lago. But basically, Israel now is on the offensive, and this is going to change a lot of the things. And again, I want to tie this into the Helleno-Jewish agreement that is being tied on the other side of Israel,
right?
And connect that and look at what that means. And James, the Greek-Israel connection on the northern side, who are the main, losers in a connection between Israel and Greece in the Eastern Mediterranean?
Well, we know who the big losers are. I mean, perhaps the greatest of the losers is going to end up being the Cypriots that are siding with Libya.
Okay,
it's going to be a bigger problem. Cyprus is at play here, and it's pretty consequential. And also, by the way, the one who's kicking and screaming the most is the obvious, Turkey.
Well, but I want to go even further. Can we get the other map up a minute?
Yeah,
let's go up. Let's go up to the north and talk about that.
Yeah, and I do want to say this one thing as we get the other map up. Okay, I'm going to do that right now. But as we get the other map up, there's one other issue that I want to bring up, and that is the fact that the African Union is going to face a massive credibility challenge that relates to this. And the reason why is because Somaliland, since 1991. I want to say 1991, so almost 30 years, has outperformed Somalia in literally every area. Governance, election, security, it manages to deal with that. So their very refusal to even engage with Somaliland, and now Israel coming in and saying, we're walking with you, completely makes them toothless.
Okay, before we move north, and let's add one more thing. The main supporter of Somaliland, besides Israel right now, is the UAE.
100%.
They have
100%.
built the harbors, and look at, if you go back, we look at the strategic importance. They've built the harbors in Somaliland that sit across from the harbor at Aden and other places.
And I should note this, by the way. When David says the UAE, understand this, okay? The Emiratis are doing this as a series of clans, okay? But they're doing it with the love and support and permission being the operative terminology, of the royal family of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They act, in essence, as a proxy of Saudi Arabia when it comes to geopolitical fronting in areas like this, where in other cases it could be perceived as being normative. This is a big deal. This is no small thing.
And we haven't even gotten into Iran yet.
No, because Iran is going to become even more toothless than it is because of this.
Well, they're shaking up. I mean,
look
they're
at
just
what
falling apart.
Did you notice what the president said at the conference between him and Bibi?
Iran.
He said this. He just basically said, "I hear that Iran is getting ready to put together a few more nuclear weapons," and he says, "I sure hope they're not, because I don't want to waste the money on fuel flying over my bombers." I mean, look, he's doing that because it has nothing, by the way, it has nothing to do with being a big ally with Israel. You know, everybody says, oh, this is Israel-driven. Israel-driven. It has nothing to do with Israel-driven. You know what this is driven by? This isn't driven by Israel. This is driven by the GCC. This is driven by the Gulf Coalition Cooperation Council. That's who this is driven by. It's driven by these countries like Saudi Arabia. It's driven by these countries like Oman, these countries like the UAE that are looking for security and at the same time are wanting to tell Qatar to go shove it up their rears. That's what we're seeing right now. Sorry about this voice, you guys. I'm really sorry about that.
Okay, let's go north and let's tie this together, because the main opposition to Israel's recognizing Somaliland was Turkey.
100%.
And why was Turkey in opposition? Let's go to the north and talk about the problem that Turkey has.
There's probably 5 reasons why.
Oh, there's more.
Especially because of the African Horn issue. Because the problem is if Somaliland is recognized by Israel, then, as I've said before, and this is kind of important, okay, the nations that represent all of these African Horn countries are going to end up becoming toothless. And I've mentioned this before, like, this is kind of a big deal. Like, you can't ignore this, because if they become toothless, and this is just something to think about, if they end up becoming of nothing, the African Union, well, then Turkey now loses its capacity to be able to reform anything in the northern coast of Libya, specifically the area of the southern Mediterranean. So their position in Libya weakens, which, by the way, is beginning to strengthen as a result of some cooperation going on now between Russia and Turkey because of this Cypriot promise that was made with their energy coming up across that corridor that passes. If that falls, then Turkey's stance in not only the movement in NATO changes and weakens, but Turkey now has to stop focusing on what I would call the colonization of Syria, and it has to now focus security efforts on the southern portion of the Mediterranean, where its interests have to sit with Russia in order to keep the contingency going for what's happening in Cyprus. That's not a small thing.
Not at all.
It's a big deal.
Oh, by the way, I just now saw something come across my feed I also find interesting. Do you realize that part of the information, part of the intelligence that the FBI is using to deal with the Somali fraud problem, the Somali immigrant fraud problem in Minnesota? And I don't know if the internet
$109 million or some crazy thing like that.
No, we're talking about billions of dollars. They're talking about billions
of
dollars.
I'm talking about just the daycares.
That Somali, because of the war in Somali, the Biden administration allowed people from Somalia to set up shop in Minnesota. And it turns out that the Minnesotan Somali immigrants have been frauding the federal government for billions of dollars, okay? And probably we think this is where Ilhan Omar got a lot of her support.
100%.
She is Somali, by the way. I don't know if you know. And she kept on talking that her first allegiance is to Somali. And again, Somali is mixed into all of this issue in Minnesota. It turns out that the Mossad fed the FBI a lot of the intelligence to deal with the Somali problem in America. And I find that kind of...
That wouldn't surprise me one bit.
I find that fascinating. I haven't substantiated it, but it makes sense that Israel is now... This is part of the soft power offensive that Israel is in connecting to the southern part of the Horn of Africa. And again, let's tie this into Iran has to go through there. India has to go through there. China has to go through there. And if Israel has a hand on that tap, it can become what as important as the Houthis were during this whole war. And that becomes a major issue.
Oh, yeah. Well, I also think that Israel understands what they have at stake in allowing the Somalis to continue doing what they do, because if the Somalis continue doing what they do, then there's a lot of other issues that are strictly at risk, okay? You have the continued problem of Ethiopia, which is something that we haven't even talked about yet.
Yes.
Which should be of grave concern to everybody. There's Sudan, and then let me just take a little risk and cut across the African continent and go to the west side of the African continent, and understand that the cohesiveness between Israel and Morocco right now, especially over their statement that they made about Western Sahara a year ago, is also put at risk. Because when Netanyahu did that, he added a lot of credibility to the relationship that existed with respect to normalization between Morocco and Israel, which opened up the door for what they just did in the Baltics, if you remember. So their movement in the Baltics is the same idea. The whole idea is we want to expand beyond Arab nations to give people an extended understanding of the credibility that they can build and the economic benefit that they can have as a result of normalizing with Israel because of the reach that we have. Not to mention the fact that it adds stability in the region because of the intelligence sharing and some of the other issues that we've actually talked about.
So Israel is on the offensive, diplomatically, militarily, economically. Israel is on the offensive and is pushing up against a lot of the major powers. Let's go to the north. Let's explain what's going on in the north. I think people need to understand how this ties into all of this also. And when you look at the map that you're looking at, I want you to go to the area of the Eastern Mediterranean, the whole combination between Turkey, Greece, and Israel. And let's put it like this. Do you understand that a ship that wants to leave the Black Sea, meaning that body of water, has to go through Istanbul, but when it comes out of the Dardanelles, the little area, has to go through Greek waters in order to get to the Mediterranean, meaning any Russian ship that wants to leave and get to the Mediterranean has to go through Greek waters in order to reach the Mediterranean. Now, what is happening right now as we're talking, Israel and Greece, and look at the little island actually that sits in the corner called Cyprus, have reached an agreement or are about to reach an agreement that is economic, but not only economic. Okay,
It's a military agreement, basically.
It's a military agreement. It's an Eastern Mediterranean version of NATO.
Yeah.
And the idea is that there's going to be a joint military command that is probably going to sit on Rhodes or on Crete, we're not sure, that will have military force, 2,000 soldiers from Israel, 2,000 soldiers from Greece, a couple of soldiers from Cyprus, and they are going to be able to react to any attack, meaning Israel is telling Greece, if you get attacked by Turkey, we'll come to help you, and Greece is telling Israel, if you get attacked, we'll come to help you. And Greece has a lot of control over access to the Turkish. I mean, some of the Greek islands are literally 3 miles from the Turkish shore.
Yeah, and this is the thing that's actually shocking. Maybe not shocking. I just think it's the brilliance of it to me is surprising because I could have never anticipated it. As a matter of fact, we should go back and look at the video that I made on the agreement that Netanyahu made, the energy agreement that Netanyahu made with Cyprus. When that agreement was made, I had told everybody my thoughts on it. And I said, that I truly believe that this is the beginning of Netanyahu trying to create some kind of an alliance with a series of countries in the region. And I said that would be the case. And the reason why I said that was because of the obvious economic play, right? It's a clear economic play. What I didn't realize is it was more of a military play than it ever was an economic play. Now, the reason why I didn't see it as a military play was because there was a solid agreement set in play with Turkey and Cyprus regarding that little band that goes from northern Libya across into Cyprus and up into Turkey, where there was a very clear condition in that agreement where these types of alliances couldn't be made. So by an economic agreement being signed, which is technically not a violation of the first agreement that they signed, I thought, well, maybe this is a leeway in. Maybe he's, pushing the envelope. Maybe there's an Overton window that he's trying to push. What I didn't realize was he was setting them up for energy and economic independence for when they break, in essence, the very letter of the law when they make an alliance with Israel. It's a big deal.
So add on another layer, and this is something that I think is important. What has been actually a major issue for Israel is the fact that Turkey is a NATO country. And Turkey has an Article 5 agreement with the United States and the rest of NATO.
Second largest military in NATO.
What this Greek-Israeli-Cypriot alliance has done is, I think, counterbalanced the fact that Turkey's NATO involvement holds Israel back.
Yeah, it forces the weakening of the condition of Article 5, in essence, because Article 5 does not hold to the same effect that it does when you have alliances being made with countries that would be detrimental to the existence of the current alliance. So the idea here is that his Article 5 protection that he's going to potentially claim is toothless in the Mediterranean. And it's toothless because it isn't invoked anymore based on the alliances that exist between the countries that are, in essence, strong-arming him and the United States of America.
Okay.
And this becomes even more significant because as close as Bibi is to the president and as close as Erdogan is to the president, it's going to force Erdogan to be a good little boy and not do what he wants to do representing Islamic Brotherhood in Turkey.
And here's the weird thing. And this is the genius of what Bibi Netanyahu has done. Again, I don't know.
It is. It's genius.
Okay.
It is.
And this is this. Greece is part of NATO too.
100%.
So when Greece and Israel tie themselves together,
it's the weakening of Article 5, I told you.
Exactly. He's kind of mixing in. So an attack on Israel is going to pull in another NATO signatory, and that will make the whole situation completely different.
And by the way, for those of you that don't understand the connection that David is making, because it's a brilliant connection, I want everybody to understand this. The reason why Article 5 would not be allowed to be invoked if Israel was invaded in any way is because Israel now has technically sovereign territory given to them by Greece in Greece. And if that sovereign territory is attacked, by default, it would be viewed as a sovereign attack on Greece. If Greece is attacked being a member of NATO by a NATO nation, Article 5 is gone. Article 5 doesn't work for the attacking country, and it kicks in double for the country that's actually being attacked. So it makes Turkey spineless in this area.
Exactly. And what this has done, basically, it has pulled the plug out of Turkey's military posturing in the Eastern Mediterranean. People were saying Turkey's got a bigger navy, got a this, got a that. Okay. And basically, this maneuver has actually, I'm going to say, completely turned Turkey into somebody that cannot even deal with it. And I want to add one more thing because I put it on the map just so you see. If you look at the little map in the middle, it's got an enlargement of the island of Cyprus, which is stuck in the middle of all of this. Cyprus literally sits between us and Turkey. Now, I don't know if a lot of people know, but half of Cyprus is Greek Cypriot,
Yep.
and the other half of Cyprus, you see on the map, is Turkish Cypriot. Meaning, by the way, Turkey has occupied territory in Cyprus. And it's had occupied territory, I think, since 1969, if I remember correctly.
And is recognized as sovereign territory, believe it or not. That's very complicated.
So when the Turks talk about Israel's occupied territory in the West Bank, they are occupying territory in Cyprus. That's the main thing. So half of Cyprus is a base to actually put pressure on Turkey. And one of the things, I lived in Cyprus for 2 years. A lot of people don't know. If you look at the map closely, there are parts of Cyprus, Greek Cyprus, that are not even Cypriot land. They are British bases on Cyprus.
Yes, that's right.
Akrotiri is a British base. It's very similar in Cyprus to what, how do you say in Cuba, the Guantanamo Bay? In Cuba is American territory on the island of Cuba.
That's right.
It's like a separate. So an attack on Cyprus would also be attack on Britain, and here you've got it's amazing what Bibi has done here.
It's akin to the Hong Kong situation,
which brings me back to what I'm trying to say. If a year ago we were on our back foot, we were trying to figure out what's going on. Syria is a problem. Lebanon is a problem. Gaza hasn't been kind of figured out. Israel now is on the, I'm going to say, the front foot and is maneuvering and posturing in the Middle East to change the whole dynamic of the Middle East. And now we get to the crux of the idea. Because if you look what's happening between Israel and Greece, not only is Turkey affected by an alliance between Israel and Greece, who else is affected by an alliance between Israel and Greece? And look at the Black Sea. And remember, the other side of the Black Sea is where Ukraine is going on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just look at the map, and you understand that any Russian ship that wants to leave the Black Sea has to move through this Israeli-Greek alliance that is holding a chokehold over the Eastern Mediterranean Sea. So Israel has actually created a chokehold over the Eastern Mediterranean. Israel has created a chokehold over the Southern Red Sea. Israel is actually on the offensive in all of these different areas, and look how much we have changed from last year.
Yep, 100%. So that's kind of the problem that the African country, the African continents are going to be facing right now. It's going to be a big deal, especially those that are bordering the Mediterranean. You know, Egypt, Libya. Those two are the ones that are the greatest concern to me, especially that area that is just north of Tripoli. There's so much to say about what's going on in those waters. So it's a big deal.
It is. It is a massive deal, but you're doing a prophecy update.
Yeah, on tomorrow night.
So tie this together. I mean, if Israel has actually created a stranglehold on Turkey and Russia at the same time with this agreement, doesn't that yell prophecy in your mind?
Yes, and I'll tell you why it screams prophecy to me, because the only natural recourse that Turkey would have in order to allow its purposes to continue to be accomplished in the southeast section of Turkey, which is northern Syria, they have to play nice in the sandbox with everybody else. So if they start playing nice in the sandbox with Israel, they will be given carte blanche to do the colonizing that they want to do in Syria, and Turkey will, in essence, expand into northern Syria and maybe get dumb enough to try to position itself in the area of the Golan Heights. Although I doubt that will be the case, because in the conference call, or the press conference that had been had with Bibi and the president, Bibi had been asked about this very same issue, and Bibi basically said that we need to defend our security And he also mentioned the population of Druze.
Oh yeah, and we're going to use the Druze and, by the way, the Kurds and the other side. But what I'm trying to say, what I find fascinating, and this kind of clicked to me somewhere last night, is this: I keep on asking myself, what's going to bring Russia and Turkey together to attack Israel?
Oh yeah.
I mean, and look at this. What's gonna glue Russia and Turkey together, and to bring them all the way out? I mean, if Israel chokes off Russia's access to the Mediterranean Sea, the only, how do you say, warm water port it has to the Mediterranean Sea. If Israel chokes off Russia's income from natural gas, which is what the economic part is going to do. If Turkey sees itself losing its role in the Mediterranean Sea, a combination between Russia and Turkey to, how do you say, counterbalance Israel's effect in the eastern modern Mediterranean Sea. And look, Israel's become a military powerhouse today.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, that, again, it yells to me that would be the only reason that I see Russia and Turkey coming together against Israel. And here we are in biblical prophecy.
Well, and it's interesting because if you're going to see the beginning of the fulfillment of Ezekiel 38, you're going to see these countries all getting along. So when you see something like this looking the way it is, especially if Erdogan plays along with President Trump, we are looking at Ezekiel 38 beginning to form. We are literally looking at a condition of peace that will settle into the region, and one that will actually create this massive picture of what appears to be cohesion amongst these Arab countries. And eventually the alliance will get strengthened and formed with Russia. And I assume that the reason why that's going to happen is because of the position that Russia takes in Libya. They're already beginning to take that position. As a matter of fact, I think the normalization that the current security minister of Israel was pursuing when he was the foreign minister was predicated upon cooperation with Russia. Because if you can cooperate with Russia, who happens to be winning the civil war in Libya right now, you can recreate the condition necessary to enter into normalization with Israel and bring the benefit of security in the the southern Mediterranean, the northern border of Libya, all the way from Tripoli to Benghazi. It's a big deal. You're able to put into effect something that only the United States was able to do in the past.
So, Somalia in the south, Greek Cypriot in the north, and where are we going now? I mean, I'm trying to project this into 2026.
This is what I think happens if this works. Okay, if this works the way I think it's going to work, the African Union is officially on notice.
Yeah.
If the African Union is officially on notice, then the Middle East is at play. Okay? And the reason why the Middle East is at play is because the largest, or let me just say this, the most significant or consequential Middle Eastern country has the most to lose, and that's Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia's whole design is for them to survive based on the need for them to continue to exist. Before, the way that worked was Mecca. Mecca was the way that would happen. But now it's gone beyond that because of the scholarship of that's coming out right now in Islam, where they're beginning to discount so many details related not only to Mecca, but related to Muhammad, related to all of that stuff. So now they're looking at developing this G7 mindset because that's what he wants. He wants G7, okay, in order to bring forth the consequence of them still remaining the most important Middle Eastern country in the region. So Saudi Arabia is going to play along.
Okay, so we've got the situation on the ground. We understand what's going on in the Middle East. We understand the choke points. We understand the economy. There's two main factors that I believe are going to play into this year. I'm waiting for the fall of Iran. I mean, it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's like it's the sandcastle that Iran has already been washed by at least 2 or 3 waves. There's almost nothing left. And the question is, when is the last wave going to come and blow this sandcastle off the beach?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we're there right now. Now, again, I'm afraid to be too excited because we've been saying this for a while now. I mean, how can the Iranian regime hold out? The demonstrations are getting worse, but the pride of the Iranians to say we as a nation have failed, I mean, so desperately, I think they haven't reached a point where they can say that yet, but it's
Yeah.
really, really close. And the worst thing that Israel can do, or the United States, by the way, and I heard Trump the other day, is put their fingers in this, because the minute Israel becomes a part of this, then the Iranians are going to send back and say, okay, this is our family. We don't want you. It's like, don't slap somebody else's kids.
Yeah, that's right.
So Israel needs to stay out of the Iran issue right now. And let's see if the Iranian people kind of throw it over.
Yeah, I doubt it.
You don't think they're going to...
I don't think it'll be done through Iranian people throwing it over. It's going to be agents. We're going to have to invoke that.
Do you know that I found out that Patrick Ben David spent 10 years in Iran?
Oh, yeah. No,
I did not know that.
He was born in Iran.
He speaks Farsi.
Yeah, he was born in Iran.
If you don't know who that is,
And
check
then lived
that out.
in Germany as a refugee.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, very, very interesting.
He's Armenian, by the way, too.
So Iran is how do you say, what do you call it when you it's falling apart. It's untangling.
Yeah.
It's decomposing, for lack of a better word. And the question is, what is going to happen in the vacuum that is created with the fall of Iran, economically and power wise? And I think that's what we're going to see happening in 2026.
So how do you see Iran falling then?
I think the people in Iran are going. What's lacking right now in Iran is a secular Khomeini, meaning a figurehead that will stand up somewhere. And I'm not sure it's the Shah of Iran or I think his son or his grandson, but a figurehead that will rally the Iranian people around him. I think that's what's lacking. An Iranian kind of somebody who would stand up and say, I'm going to take this on. And the minute there's somebody to glue the economic, I mean, think about it. I heard that the Iranian rial is worth something like 7 million rials to $1.
Goodness gracious.
I mean, that's the Iranian currency. Their economy is falling apart, and the economy is falling apart, among other things, because they invested so much time, energy, and money into the fight against Israel. Their infrastructure is falling. There's no water. They're actually moving people out of Tehran because there's no water, and so the regime has failed. Again, this is a biblical. You curse Israel. Look how cursed Iran has gotten to be, even with all of the wealth that they have in energy. I think 8th largest natural gas and 4th largest oil reserves, something like that. Something like that. And they can't get their gas out. They can't get their oil out, and they're totally falling apart. You curse Israel. Look how cursed you're going to be, and Iran is a good example of that.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I think that this is a fact that can't be ignored. But the problem that we have here, and this is a thing you're not taking into account, David. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think you are taking it into account, but I don't think you're weighing it. Okay, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm tempted not to weigh it. Honestly, okay? It's easy to miss because you think practically from a military mind. You have enough experience, especially from the second Intifada and the first one, for that matter. Being on the border of Lebanon, you understand where it goes. You also understand from being there with Gaza. But directly in front of the picture that's depicted by what you're seeing right now with Iran is it's easy to forget the idealistic bent, right? So you have Shiites fervent Shiites. This is Islam. I mean, bro, and this is, by the way, this is the wing of Islam that puts a lot of weight in what they say will prophetically happen. So you're looking at the potential for the economics to change based on the will of a certain group of people who want to find something better for themselves. You're also looking at it from the perspective of a country who's willing, multiple countries that are willing to step in and sabotage the efforts of Khomeini, of course. But the problem is you have a massive vacuum that's already being created because Khomeini's son is not a very strong man, but there's a nasty fight because of the idealistic bent that exists between the fundamentalists and the people who pretty much want to see the cohesiveness within the government. And the people, by the way, that want to see cohesiveness within the government that you might call the revolutionaries are the IRGC members.
So what is holding Iran together right now? I mean, why haven't they kind of unraveled everything?
There's a lot of fear, right? Number one. But then number two, there's this hardcore fundamentalist picture. It's the mind and the heart that drives the IRGC.
I want to use a minute to explain to people in the West what this kind of dynamic actually is. I went through the second Intifada in Jenin, basically.
You were like at the heart of it.
I literally right smack in the middle. And I remember being in Jenin and kind of interacting with the people in Jenin. And they say, yes, we hate the Hamas. We hate the Popular Front. We hate the Islamic jihadists. And so I say, why don't you throw them over? Why don't you kick them out of your neighborhoods? And they say, wait a minute, but we can hate what they're doing, but there are cousins, there are uncles, they are people who live with us, and we hate you more than we hate them.
Yes.
We're not going to let you come and overthrow them. So I say, okay, you overthrow them. This war would not be happening if you overthrew these crazy wackos.
Yes.
And they say, no, we can't overthrow them, but we're not going to let you do it.
That's right.
And Iran is in the same place. Iran is saying, we hate what's going on. We hate that the country's falling apart. We hate that the Muslim fundamentalists have ruined this country, but it is our country. We're not going to let you overthrow them.
Yeah.
But I think this is something that we need to understand. I want to add on one more thing that people in the West, we talk about switching administrations. We had an election. The left-wing, woke, progressive ideology was won over by the MAGA movement, okay? And there was an election, and we can laugh about the fact that before the election we didn't know. So there's been a transference, there's been an election, and if you were part of the political system, you go to a rally, you say this, you share on your web. Do you understand that in a nation like Iran or in a nation like Gaza or a situation like Gaza, in order to stand up to the government, you don't have to put your reputation on the line. You don't have to only start, saying things on your YouTube channel. You have to be willing to die. You have to be willing to put your children in harm's way. And that's something, I mean, we sit in the West and we say, why don't the Iranian people overthrow this government? It's terrible for them. Look at it from their point of view, it seems. But when you think about putting your children in harm's way in order to change the regime, it has to be really, really bad for you to kind of cross over that Rubicon.
Well, you have a big problem too, and you mentioned this with MAGA, right? You have the problem of deception. That's also a big problem, okay? And I'll show you what I mean when I say that. I'll play a clip from something that happened at Turning Point's event at AmFest.
All right.
Okay? And I'm going to tell you the guys that were on this platform that were debating, which in my opinion wasn't really a debate. It was kind of more like two guys that come from different camps, different points of view, that respect one another. And I think the conversation was awesome, by the way. I think it was good. One guy was a soft secessionist, so he's a replacement theology guy,
Okay.
okay, but still recognizes Israel's sovereign capacity, right? By the way, I just have to say this, Revelation 22:20, holy smokes, your generosity, unbelievable. Thank you. You're amazing.
What does it mean?
That's just very sweet.
No, what does it mean? What he wrote?
It
there?
means Happy New Year.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I think this is Jada. I'm not quite sure. I think it's Jada. Anyway, so I want to show you this statement that this guy makes, which by the way, for the record, I think was brilliantly worded. And by the way, this is the guy who thinks that the church has replaced Israel. Okay? But what he's doing is he's speaking to the deception that exists right now within this body of kids that have been brainwashed by all the brain rot that's going on. And I think that this part has to really be understood to know where he's to understand where he's coming from.
By the way, we need to talk about brain rot because I kind of been exposed some brain rot very up close and very personal lately.
Yeah, I know. You know, and can I just say this? If you're listening to people like, you know, Nick Fuentes and some of these other people, and you're just coming to blind conclusions based on what you're listening to, you're not thinking. Critical thinkers do not gather around people like Nick Fuentes. They just don't. And I'm saying that respectfully. I don't think Nick is like some just like demon, although he's inspired by some big evil. I think he kind of means something. I mean, I don't know. But if you believe that kind of mind rot, and by the way, it's really bad when people like Nick and even Alex Jones are calling out Kaddis.
Okay.
You know it's bad.
Okay.
But with that said,
We need to get back to that and kind of go into it. There's a couple of things I want to connect to that dynamic. But let's go back to where we were.
yeah, with that said, I want to show this to you. And I have to find the portion of the speech that was given, but I do think that it's worthwhile us taking a look at here. Okay? Now, these guys, in my opinion, pretty smart guys. Okay? I like what they have to say. I think what they say is pretty brilliant. And I really like what is said by this man, who, by the way, this is Pastor Wilson, who correctly defines Zionism. He is what we would call a soft cessationist, which means he does believe that Israel, spiritual Israel, is the church, but does also concede to the fact that God is still going to deal with the real nation of Israel and bring them back a very unique and specific way. But his view of Israel is very different than my view of Israel. Okay? What I do think about this man is that he is incredibly intelligent. His name is Doug Wilson. I have a tremendous amount of respect for this man, even though we completely do not agree on eschatology. We have a completely different perspective on eschatology. But I really like what he has to say here, and I think he's smart for saying it. So let's take a listen to what he says. This is really important. Okay?
Let's go.
This is him defining Zionism and speaking a little bit about this, but I want everybody to hear about what he says about the USS Liberty at the very end. Okay? Which, by the way, you want to give a little summary on the USS Liberty?
We
Just a quick
can.
one.
We can. Okay. USS Liberty was an American spy ship that was in the Eastern Mediterranean during the Six-Day War in 1967. It was actually put in place basically to listen to communications taking place between Israeli forces and between Egyptian forces. And it was identified by the Israeli Air Force as an Egyptian ship and was attacked. This is war. It was in a war zone and was attacked. They say that there was an American flag flying, but it wasn't marked off as an American ship besides that. The name of the ship was Anan. So the Israeli pilots did not identify it as an American ship, and then they strafed it, and then they bombed it. And only later on, something happened with the antenna. They couldn't get out. And only later on, when they came to see what happened, they realized that it was an American ship. It's what I would call a blue and blue engagement. There have been other engagements like that during World War II. There was a couple of places where the British fired on American ships and other places like that. It was this. Israel said it was a mistake. We apologize, but it is being waved as the flag of our enemies of Israel attacking American assets.
Here's my one question about the Liberty. Here's my one question. What's to say that that was not a manipulation of American deep state forces?
I don't know. That'd be a layer.
That's what I've always believed. But
that'd be another layer. But again, even if it was a deep state, I don't believe Israel would have attacked American servicemen.
I don't think that it was as simple as that. I think Israel got played, is what I think happened. I think Israel got led to believe something on purpose. I don't think it was a simple, oh gosh, we erred, we made a mistake.
Well, there's two things to remember about the Liberty. America wasn't the ally of Israel that it is today.
I know.
Okay. America, at least parts of the elements in America were anti-Israel. The attack on the Liberty was not by American planes. It was by French Mirage. And the reason is that America was not supporting Israel militarily. They wouldn't sell us American aircraft. Okay. I mean, that's just the indication. Two, this is a war zone. 3, 1967, Israel's not the great army that we have today. I mean, we don't have the ability and the capability and the interaction. We didn't have the cooperation with the American Central Command that we have today. So there was a lot more of a gray fog of war area that this thing takes place in. That being said, why was an American intelligence ship in the middle of a battle zone kind of listening to an Israeli how do you say, radio chatter?
There's so much to be said about that. But I love the way this guy frames it.
Let's go.
I think he's smart. I think he's really smart. And again, I'm telling you this, I don't agree with him, eschatologically speaking. I just don't. By the way, we should also probably talk about this when we have a chance, but my Revelation book.
Yes.
We'll talk about why that's important in a minute.
By the way, everything that we're talking about ties into Revelation.
Oh, yeah. Sure
everything that we're connecting to.
100%.
I mean, there's just one thread that we need to pull here that all of this ties into what we're talking about in the book.
Yep, 100%. Okay, so let's take a look at what he says here, because what he says here is deeply consequential. This is no small thing, okay? Watch this. Oops.
Thinking was one of the sins of the age. When you connect this to ignorance, malice, and bad faith, you can find yourself with something that is truly rancid. This being the case, I wanted to use my opening statement to lay out some basic definitions. Please pardon my use of notes here, because this topic and time are so important that I didn't want to leave anything crucial out accidentally. Zionism was a 19th century movement among Jews urging a return to their ancestral homeland of Israel. Atheist Jews could be Zionists, and observant Jews could be Zionists for religious reasons. Christian Zionists are Christians, usually dispensationalists, who believe that the reestablishment of Israel in 1948 was the fulfillment of prophecy and that Jews have a divine mandate to hold the land. De facto Zionists.
By the way, I believe that.
That would be me. That would be me and you. We both fall into that category.
We're Christian.
Yeah.
I'm a Jewish Zionist, a Jewish Christian Zionist. Okay.
Yeah. My only disagreement with him when he defines this is he says that Zionism was something that was made more popular in the early 19th century. Created in the early 19th century. I think it was made more popular. I think that the term Zionism is something that we get from the Bible, actually. It's a biblical term, but I understand where Doug is coming from. I don't think that he's by any stretch of the imagination in this like completely wrong category. Okay. I actually respect the man. I think the man is smart. And by the way, just based on this presentation, I respect him.
Okay.
And this presentation was great. Okay, here we go.
Those who don't believe that the promise to Abraham in Genesis 12 has anything to do with it, but who recognize that almost 8 million Jews are there now with the same right to defend their territory that any other country would have. I illustrate this by noting that I don't believe in the doctrine of manifest destiny at all, but I still live in Idaho. This brings us to replacement.
The sarcasm that he carries here is useful.
Manifest destiny.
Yeah, he's going to explain that in just a second.
Okay.
It's useful. The sarcasm that he has is very, very useful here, and I'll explain it in a minute. Let me rewind it for just a second, but it is very important, okay? Okay, here we go.
Noting that I don't believe in the doctrine of manifest destiny at all, but I still live in Idaho. This brings us to replacement theology, which also has a fancier name, supersessionism. This is the view that the church is Israel now and is the lawful heir of all the covenant blessings promised in the Old Testament. This is the view that in Romans 11, the Apostle Paul described the one olive tree as straddling both eras, Old Testament and New. This is the view of most Reformed or covenantal theologians, and it is the view that I hold. But wait, there's more. There's hard cessation.
Okay, so I thought he would get into it, but just for those of you that don't know the reference here. So Idaho, they call God's country.
Okay.
Right? There's some interesting stories about Idaho and how it came into being. A lot of people say that it was all the Lord. Basically, all of the West was the Lord that had put it together. And this manifest destiny doctrine is this idea that God was the one who, in essence, miraculously put the union together as it came, without getting into a lot of details. I think he's going to still get into it, but either way, what he says here now, he's going to start talking about replacement theology, which is we staunchly oppose.
Am I going to cringe?
You're not going to cringe.
Okay.
Because this guy speaks it fairly. He's not like the typical half-cocked, no-brain Broderson view of it.
But even if he says it very clearly and very smartly, will I cringe because of what he says?
I don't know, bro. The guy's articulate.
Let's
and
see.
what he says is actually reasonable and fair, although I don't believe is accurate representation of the Bible. But I think the man is not only wise how he represents it, but he's smart.
Okay.
Okay. So let me just rewind it just a little bit so you can hear what he says here. Okay, here we go.
Old Testament and New. This is the view of most Reformed or covenantal theologians, and it is the view that I hold. But wait, there's more. There's hard supersessionism, which is the idea that today's ethnic Jews are now entirely outside God's covenantal dealings and are just one more.
Let me rewind his first definition.
The church is Israel now. Name, supersessionism. This is the view that the church is Israel now and is the lawful heir of all the covenant blessings promised in the Old Testament. This is the view that in Romans 11, the Apostle Paul described the one olive tree as straddling both eras, Old Testament.
Because we don't agree with that, but I think his interpretation of the olive tree issue is broken, but that's beside the point. But listen to what he says.
Old Testament and New. This is the view of most Reformed or covenantal theologians, and it is the view that I hold. But wait, there's more. There's hard supersessionism, which is the idea that today's ethnic Jews are now entirely outside God's covenantal dealings and are just one more tribe living alongside the Japanese, the Swedes, and the Navajo. I do not believe this. The variant is soft supersessionism, which is the idea that although unbelieving Jews were cut out of the olive tree because of their unbelief, Paul prophesied that they would be grafted back in again, which would be a great spiritual blessing to the entire world. This is the mainstream view of Reformed theologians from the Reformation down, and is the view that I hold, soft supersessionism. Ecumenical lies would be vain humanistic attempts to keep peace by refusing to face the actual differences between Christian and Jew. Jesus was either the promised Messiah of Israel or he wasn't, and he either rose from the dead or he didn't. Honest Christians and honest Jews can and should be friends, but lying is not the way. I don't like using the term anti-Semitism when I can help it, because like the term racism, it has been greatly devalued through numerous misapplications. It is not anti-Semitism to disagree with Benjamin Netanyahu. It is not anti-Semitism for Christians to...
So the reason why these kids are clapping is because they've been pumped with all kinds of stupidity that Bibi Netanyahu's an evil man.
Yep.
When in reality, he's probably the best thing that's happened to Israel, maybe since Golda or Ben Gurion.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, but I will put him on that level.
I'd put him on Ben Gurion.
Yeah, he is. And he has a Ben Gurion doctrine, although he surprised us all how he dealt with the seventh. But I think that's more of a function of the deep state.
So, but he has become the boogeyman for all the kids sitting in that hall.
Oh, 100%. Because of the lies that are being communicated.
And parts of my family, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a whole other, the thing is the parts of your family that feel that way are just exposed to a lot of brainless,
well, here's the thing.
idiotic talk.
Well, if they are Christian and they're listening to him, they're basically going to use what he says here and say, Bibi is not the representative of God's promise today.
Yeah, but the problem is those are kids that also don't know the Bible.
Okay.
Doug knows the Bible. That's why he's saying what he's saying. Like, if you think about it, every single major covenantal promise that God ever made to his people outside of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob were during a time where they were in the greatest place of rebellion. I mean, they were rebelling. The Jews were rebelling against God while God was making promises to them. By the way, I should also note this side note. Did you watch the movie, the David movie?
Oh, no, I haven't yet.
Phenomenal. We took our kids there yesterday.
We're going to go.
It's a great movie. It's very emotional. I think it did a beautiful picture of illustrating how wicked the Philistines and the Amalekites were, and
but
David.
let me strike what you said a moment ago.
Yep.
If I remember correctly, God never conditioned his promise on the fact that we do the right thing.
No, he didn't.
I never had that.
That's not completely true, because if you look at a passage like I want to say it's Deuteronomy, where he says, if you love the Lord your God with all your heart, you'll follow his commands, and blessed it'll be you in the country, blessed it'll be in the city. And he goes on for 15 or 16 verses. You'll be blessed, you'll be blessed, you'll be blessed. He says, if you disobey the command of the Lord thy God, you don't regard his word. He goes on for 50 verses saying you'll be cursed. So there are passages like that, but the promises that relate to perpetuity don't have conditions on them.
Here's my core question on this one, and it's something that I'm not sure I really understand. Is my salvation hinged on the fact that I do everything right and I don't sin anymore?
Know better than that.
Yeah, but so why is Israel's promise hinged on the fact that they do anything right?
It's not biblical. That's why
here's a guy who is as knowledgeable about the Bible as I am, and he has a view that there is a connection, that the promise was taken. He just now said it. The promise was taken away from Israel because of their unbelief.
Yeah, but the difference between him and all these mind rot idiots, right, is that he believes that promise will eventually be restored to Israel.
Yeah, but now the promise is not on Israel.
Yeah, right. That's right. That's where we disagree with him.
We're in an promise. He said
that's
it'll
right.
be restored.
Yeah, you're in this,
which means that 1948 we go back to Israel. According to him, we're colonizers.
Yes.
According to him, the Palestinians are right.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this. He wouldn't agree with that. He, believe it or not, is pro existence of the Israeli state, of the Jewish state.
If the Israeli state had not come into condition onto existence, he would be okay with there being no Israel state.
Probably.
So, again,
but he believes in Israel. He believes in Israel's right to self-determination.
Again, that's fine, wonderful. I mean, he believes in Israel's right to self-determination as much as he believes in the Italians' right to live in Italy. Okay, which is fine.
Yeah.
But he does not believe that 1948 was a prophetic event.
No, definitely does not believe that. We do. That's what I said. We disagree with him. Okay?
All right.
But his representation is fair here. Listen to what he says. Just listen to this.
It is not anti-Semitism for Christians to want Jews to believe in Christ. It is not anti-Semitism to differ with Israeli policies in the West Bank. The problems come in with the adverbs, the way in which such things are held and argued. Actual anti-Semitism, or what I prefer to call Jew hate, is what happens in my Twitter feed anytime I mention Israel. Jew hate is October 7th. Jew hate is Bondi Beach. It is the belief that Jews are a uniquely malevolent force for evil in the world, and that this fact justifies a one-size-fits-all negative response to anything related to them. Christian Zionists and Christian supersessionists do have pronounced theological differences, but the one thing they can agree on is that Jew hate is a serious sin. What do I mean by high-performance people? The Jews are a talented and hardworking people, and Jewish mothers are always pleased to introduce you to my son, the doctor. But they are also, like the rest of us, sons of Adam, making them dirty, rotten sinners. So if they are overrepresented among the Bolsheviks and the media moguls, just remember that they are also overrepresented among Nobel Prize winners and patent holders.
Agreed.
Professing Christians who are
We're good people.
Listen, bro. Jews are extraordinary for a lot of reasons. In many ways, so far overrepresented in the life-changing world.
Isn't that
You
part
guys
of the
are
blessing?
world, you guys are world treasures. Yes.
How can you say
it's part
that
of
and
it's
say
part
that
of
Jews,
the Abrahamic blessing.
How can you say that and in the same sentence say that Jews don't have the blessing anymore?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, what am I
But
missing
that's why he puts himself in the soft category, because he's not completely denying it. I mean, that's the thing. He's not
No,
completely.
he says that the Jews don't have the blessing right
Yeah,
now.
right, correct.
Meaning the fact that they're all successful doesn't have anything to do with God's blessing.
Yeah,
Now, that is something that I don't understand. I mean,
it's crazy. We don't
Okay.
agree with it. We don't
Let's
agree
go.
with it. But he's being fair. His representation is actually very, very smart.
okay.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
into Jew hate, and it is backsliding, are angry because the Jews don't believe in Jesus. Jews are the enemy, it is thought. But Jesus commanded his followers to love their enemies, which you are manifestly not doing. So why should Jews listen to Jesus if you don't? Last thing,
cool.
and you may consider this a little bonus round item. I mention it only because I believe
I love this, what he brings up right here. He's being sarcastic, and he says it's a bonus round item because this was something that was being spoken about a lot at AmFest. They asked Ben remember that angry kid that asked Ben this question about the liberty?
Yeah.
Right? That kid looked like he had demons in him. It's so sad. But watch this. Okay, this is I love how he handles this. Listen to this.
was brought up at this conference earlier. This bonus topic is the USS Liberty, attacked by Israeli planes in 1967, killing 34 Americans. I'm making no assertions here. All I am doing is noticing. All I'm doing is asking questions, like Kaddis does, recklessly connecting dots. The Liberty was an intelligence-gathering ship, and LBJ was president. Israel was in the middle of a hot 1967 war. How confident are you personally that there was no American deep state in 67? How confident are you that we weren't playing both sides and feeding intel to Egypt? How confident are you that America can only be double-crossed and can never be the double-crosser? Your confidence in the essential goodness of the CIA is endearing. I want to close by saying, and this is crucial, I want to close by saying that I believe that debates about foreign policy and America's relationship to Israel and what happened to the USS Liberty or anything like that are totally inbounds and inbounds at a conference like this. Debates about whether the organizers of this conference were complicit in the murder of Charlie are in another category entirely, a category best described as demented or unhinged.
He does it, Raul.
If passive-aggressive gaslighting insolence had a basketball team, it is long since time to retire Candace's jersey. Those assertions are not in the same universe at all, and so the latter one must never be allowed to hide under the former. Thank you.
I think he does a absolutely brilliant job at being fair in his representation. Now, don't get me wrong. I absolutely do not agree with his view concerning these issues. but I very much am thankful for how he handles this.
Okay. Let's say so. We've got a high profile, very intelligent, very articulate person explaining that the promise to the Jews does not exist, that 1948 was a colonial event, but there is going to be a, how do you say, an event coming on later on that will improve the situation with the Jews. And American policy should support the Jews like they should support the Nigerians.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think that what he's saying is fair, and I think that what he's saying is reasonable. I don't think it's correct. I don't think he's biblical, not even for the least bit. But I think his representations are
He is
good.
very articulate.
Yes. Okay. Now, I want to see if I can find the beginning of this question that was voiced that shows you the mindset of these kids. Okay? Yeah, here it is. Okay. Let me see if I can play this, because this is going to show you the way these kids are thinking.
Okay.
Okay? And it's kind of scary when you think about it, but here we go.
I'm Corwin. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. And my question is, how can people even consider that Israel is our greatest ally when the Talmud says blasphemous things about Jesus Christ and claims that non-Jews are subhuman?
I was very quickly, whether or not Israel is our greatest ally is a political question, and as I said in my comments, totally in bounds. We can talk about foreign policy and whether or not Israel is our greatest ally. That's one thing. The second thing is you have to realize that the Talmud was a collection of writings over the course of 800 years, and it's like it's as though you have
probably closer to
someone gathered up
1300.
all the issues of Cosmopolitan magazine over 800 years, and then you said the Talmud said,
Would you say closer to 1300?
I wouldn't put it, but I know 800 seems less than.
No, it's longer.
I mean, the Babylon Talmud and the Jerusalem Talmud actually overlap a little bit, but or this started before and this ended later. Okay, so yeah.
Anyway.
And again, my question as a Jew would be: nobody ever canonized the Talmud. Nobody ever said. Okay,
listen to what he says. I love
right.
the answer.
Let's see what he says.
Cosmopolitan says, well, which rabbi, which time, which century? There are some, if you get my book, American Milk and Honey, there are some horrific things in the Talmud. There are also things in the Talmud that are pure exegetical gold, right? So you're talking about centuries, and you can't just say one thing, the Talmud. It's too simplistic. I don't mind condemning the things in the Talmud that attack Jesus Christ or attack Christians. I'm a Christian, so I reject that. And whoever did that shouldn't have done that. But there are also things that I have personally learned from the Talmud that are just wonderful insights into Scripture.
Let me add to that, if you don't mind. A lot of people think England is our greatest ally. You can get arrested for preaching the gospel on the streets of England right now, not in a Talmud written 800 years ago, but in the next 8 minutes you can. There's a lot of people that want the Chinese to be our greatest ally because it'll make them a lot of money. They make sure that they forcibly abort children, particularly their girls, and they buy up American intellectual property and pirate our commerce and economy. There's a lot of people right now in our movement that want Qatar to be our greatest ally, and all they're doing is taking Al Jazeera TV and beaming hate into all the Muslim immigrant homes that we brought into this country since 9/11. So they're now more radicalized on the streets of the United States than they are over in the schools of Wahhabism in Saudi Arabia. So when we can play this game of darts and throw jello at the wall, like greatest ally and things of that nature, you can pick and choose whatever you want to do in someone's agenda because man is totally depraved and we're all sinful. Here's what I can tell you. If you're ever beginning from the premise that somehow an alliance with Israel is inciting Islam, with all due respect, you are ignorant of 1,300 years of world history. For 1,300 years, there was no nation on the earth called Israel, and we had Islam. And Islam just left us alone. They were great with, is that what they did, Doug? They were great with the West. They loved us. We were just peaceful. They all wrote with the curved sword, right on their curved swords. Right on the curved swords of Islam, they had the coexist bumper sticker. Right on those. You could read it, in fact. Right before it smited.
He's being sarcastic.
Yeah,
obviously.
totally.
Yeah.
One of the things that I always find fascinating, I don't know if you know, but Marine officers carry a Mamluk sword.
Yeah.
And the reason they carry a Mamluk sword because the Marines were created to combat Muslim slave trade that was actually taking Christian men, women, and children from Christian nations and turning them into slaves.
Yeah.
And the United States of America fought against the barbarian or the
Barbary
barbar
Coast, yeah.
coast, how do you say, slave traders. That was way before the United States, before Israel ever existed. And the fight against Islam is part of American culture,
It's
down
so
to
true.
and again, I don't know how people kind of buy into this today.
Because they're rewriting history. Listen.
You could read that, all right? That's just simply not the truth of history. And we have a president right now who is a deal maker. Ask yourself, look at the historic deals that Trump has cut in the Middle East. Ask yourself, if there were no Jewish state whatsoever in the middle of that region, who would he deflect to for leverage in a negotiation? How would he get the Saudis and the Egyptians and the Jordanians to the table if he didn't say, listen, if you guys don't want to negotiate, I'll just go ahead and give Israel all the weapon systems we haven't given them yet to make it even.
This is exactly what we're talking about. What we talked about on this show in the beginning is
Exactly.
okay, Israel is now maneuvering and is maneuvering in a pro-American way. Let's not forget that the Houthis that are on the other side of the Eden Bay from Somaliland that we're talking about, okay, their flag literally says death to America.
I know.
I mean, and why are you having a problem with an Israeli proxy being across the bay from a death to an American proxy?
Yep.
And here's what I don't understand. But again, I don't understand.
I mean, it is demonically inspired.
Yep, there we go.
It's a bunch of garbage. It's foolish demonic rhetoric. But look at this.
Leverage points in negotiations. And earlier this year, who was it that launched the drones that shot down the Iranian missiles aimed at the Iron Dome? Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Egypt. So I kind of think I don't have to make a theological case for Israel whatsoever. I don't have to look at any of their previous theological statements. Every knee and every tongue, every knee must bow and every tongue must confess that Jesus is Lord. And everybody that doesn't recognize Jesus is Lord, Jew and Gentile alike, will spend hell suffering for all of eternity apart from the grace of God. Amen? But as a foreign policy deflector shield, you want as much cartilage in the knee, my friend, between you and Islam. And all the people in this audience, let me tell you this. You want as much cartilage in the knee between you and Islam as you can possibly get, I can promise you. And the guy whose stage we're all inhabiting here today, he knew it best when he said, Islam is not compatible with Western civilization.
And that was Charlie's big thing. As a matter of fact, the day before Charlie was killed, he made that statement.
Yep. But it's been made again and again. I mean, I'm reading the Clash of Civilizations by Samuel Huntington, who actually kind of put this together way back in the 78 is when he wrote it. That the main clash between civilizations, between the Western world and the Muslim world.
100%. But look at the next question; it gets interesting.
Thank you both. Question over there, gentleman over there.
What is the greatest issue that Israel is doing to America? Like, is it AIPAC? Is it collateral damage? Is it Jewish billionaires? Like, what's the greatest issue that they have on America?
Okay, do you see? I just want everybody to see this. If you see this kid, he's an autonomous robot. This is a kid who's been destroyed by mind rot. And by the way, his question is going to serve as a powerful demonstration of how your brain can be ruined when you're locked up in your basement watching this crap.
I want to add something else. This question is a powerful representation of biblical prophecy made alive
100%.
on the world
100%.
stage.
But
I mean, the fact that Israel is the main issue that they're debating here, Turning Point USA, the conservative party of the USA, the young people of the USA, the main issue that they have on their mind is Israel. That
But-
in itself
but you
is
see-
prophecy.
But you see that guy right there? That guy asking the question is the typical Nick Fuentes kid who locks himself in a basement that Charlie was targeting. That Charlie was trying to reach. The same person, by the way, the same person that Erica is begging God for the opportunity to minister to. Okay? So this will show you how messed up his mind is. His mind is messed up.
Well, it's
Watch
not only
this.
his. I mean, like I said, I got some of those in my family.
And you can see it. Like there's this gel of intelligence that's just been ripped off of him.
Let's see where he's going.
I mean, look at you're gonna learn just how intellectually challenged this man is. It's sad, but watch.
Yeah.
The premise of your question essentially says President Trump is a schmuck, to use a Yiddish term. I mean, you're essentially saying that Trump is a schmuck and the tail is wagging the dog, that somehow he's not in charge and some secret cabal of people are yanking his chain, and then he doesn't know what he's doing. The people leading our government don't know what they're doing, that people are not critical thinking. And so I would ask you, what is the premise of your own question? I mean, are the Jews with you today? Are they there in the room with you? I mean, what's the premise of your own question?
I think there are some issues with Israel. I think AIPAC should register with FARA. I don't know how much collateral damage should.
By the way, why should AIPAC register with FARA? They're all Americans.
yeah.
They're not a foreign organization.
What's the difference between AIPAC and the tobacco lobby? I mean,
There is no difference.
I mean, what else? I mean,
These are Americans that are pro-Israeli.
how about the pro-life lobby? There is.
It's ridiculous. There are so many. The Qatari lobby is worth hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars more than AIPAC will ever be. But that's beside the point. Anyway, listen to this.
Having in Gaza, but there's a certain limit of how many innocent children and women that should not be dying. I agree, bad things happen, but there is a limit to collateral damage.
How many limits were there on October the 7th, and when did you post about those limits and your concerns?
You're comparing 2,000 people to 60 to 70,000 people.
What's your evidence of 60 to 70,000 people? Where'd you get that?
Listen to his answer. This will make you sick to your stomach.
Yeah.
No, this is worse
I
than.
see it on
No,
TikTok.
listen to me. Listen to me. This is worse than I listen to Hamas. This is far worse. Listen to this. This is so sad.
Ask any artificial intelligence where you would get unbiased information, and you would find a consensus of that data. And I would also like to hear,
I think that's what you kids today call a cell phone. Thank you for your question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Did you want to comment on that?
Yeah. The thing that needs to be asserted here is that there's a long-standing statement that the first casualty in any war is the truth. There's the fog of war. Propaganda, atrocity stories are as old as dirt. That doesn't mean that they can't be true, but it doesn't mean that it does mean that you shouldn't go on Instagram and establish the truth that way. So basically, atrocity stories, if it really happened, that's an atrocity. But I want to reserve judgment because lies pour out of wars just the way bloodshed does.
Can I just redirect really quick? I want to make sure that you guys understand. I push back because I want to see the premise of his question. Being concerned about the loss of innocent life and unnecessary escalating collateral damages, there's nothing wrong and immoral about that whatsoever. The question becomes, what's the premise of what you're asking, which is why I pushed back on, well, where was the anger about what happened on October the 7th? Did you see what he did there? All right? He just started counting bodies as if somehow the Israelis were just sitting there begging for this to happen to them, and they weren't. What provoked this? What provoked this operation? Since 2006, you know, it's funny, those of you that want so-called Palestinian autonomy, in many respects, you sound very much like the neocons you claim to hate,
Yeah.
because that's exactly what they believed in, was Palestinian autonomy and Palestinian agency. And the Israelis gave it to them, and they gave them essentially their own state right there on their border. And what they did is turn right around and vote for Hamas and led to exactly the events that we just saw on October the 7th and the events that we have seen since.
By the way, they would vote for Hamas today also.
100%.
I mean, the West Bank would vote for Hamas.
100%.
Israel realizes that in a deep way that nobody really thinks. That's one of the differences between 2024 and 2025, is Israel's come to the realization that the people on the other side, Saudi Arabia included, by the way, okay, are not lovers of Israel, and they don't want to reach an agreement with Israel. The only thing that's going to cause them not to attack is that they can't.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's very obvious. It's very obvious. And now we're looking at a whole new game here, a whole new level. And here's the thing that I'm going to say this, David, these Middle East geopolitics that are playing out right now, they have a way of revealing who the idiots are. They have a way of really revealing what it looks like when stupid people follow brain mush. I mean, it sounds like a terrible thing, but it's true.
Okay, but here, and you want one of my great understandings from what happened in this last year. Okay, I go back a month ago. I'm worried about J.D. Vance being on the other side of this political debate. I'm not worried anymore, because the minute, if hopefully J.D. Vance steps into office, he will be pro-Israel, not because his heart says to be pro-Israel, and not even maybe if his theology, because if we heard this Doug guy, the theology could be a little bit different, but because it makes American sense. It's in America's interest. And I always bring the fact that even the most anti-Israel president, people like Jimmy Carter, for instance, or anti-American presidents like Barack Obama, had to do anti-Muslim things for American reasons, not for Israel reasons. Yeah. And that's what, I mean, it was Barack Obama who took out Osama bin Laden, who was willing to put American forces on the ground, American boots on the ground in Pakistan to take out an American threat. I mean, no matter what, an American president, an American administration is going to need to recognize that Israel is an asset to the United States of America, whether you agree with it theologically or you agree with it socially or you agree with it because, I mean, even if you think that the new fad, by the way, I think the anti-Israel fad is something similar to the hippie movement. I was telling Christy the other day. The hippie movement, I mean, think about Jeff and Karen Johnson, okay? What did their parents think about them? Their parents must have thought that they were crazy, okay? This free love, free drugs, free communism. I mean, the country went through a fad like that. Anti-Israelism is... I call it IDS, by the way. I've got a new name. You can use it. I mean, you could use it. It's an Israel derangement syndrome. it's
kind of like BDS.
It's just like, it's an Israel derangement syndrome. People's knee-jerk reaction is, I hate Israel. And what makes them mad, okay, is when you say, it doesn't make sense. It's not even logical, not physically, not politically, not militarily, not socially, not economically, and especially not spiritually. It doesn't make sense to hate Israel, and yet so many do. And that is, I think, the issue that we're going to be dealing with in 2026.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's going to be more than anything.
Yeah, I think the hatred of Israel is going to increase. I think we're going to continue to see the manifestation of Zechariah chapter 12, verse 3. I also think we're going to end up seeing, believe it or not, we're going to see the increase of peace in and around Israel. Because I think it has to accelerate. It has to happen in order to create the condition of Ezekiel 38.
Well, I think the fall of Iran, and this is going to be the main issue. I'm waiting for the fall of Iran. I mean, the change of Iran will be a major, I think, watershed moment. There's going to be, when we sit and have this conversation in December 2026, okay, we're going to say, wait a minute, it was before Iran fell apart and there was after Iran
Yeah,
fell
yeah.
apart. And that's going to be a major platform that we'll be talking, or a major watershed moment that we'll be talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Two things. I do want to stress something else. By the way, we are having an event in California that is about evangelizing to Israelis. It'll be on the 13th of January. If you want to be a part of talking about what's going on in Israel on the evangelical point of view and on what's happening, go to my YouTube channel, my Instagram. You can see when and where it's going to be. It's on the 13th. I think that's a Thursday. But I'm going to be there. There's a couple other people who are going to be speaking there. So if you are interested to what's happening on the ground in Israel, check that out.
Yeah. And one thing I do want to mention with that is I know that we've gotten a lot of questions regarding my book.
Yes.
On Revelation. I think it's a great book. I think we've worked very, very hard on it. It's called The Last Book. It is available on Amazon. Now, Amazon has not been, there have been a lot of people that have been getting this link, this thing that says it's not available. It won't be available. We will be making a paperback available here, I think, within the next few days. It's not going to be much cheaper than the hardback, but it is an option, and the paperbacks will get shipped a lot faster by Amazon for those of you that are interested. But with that said, we would love for you to support us by buying that book.
Please.
A lot of time and energy and effort and money was put into writing the book. There are my words. We found a bunch of errors in them after editing. So that shows that it wasn't AI.
That happened last week. We were live when some of those came out.
I know, it's terrible. That's what I'm talking about, actually. But at least it proves that it's not AI. But I worked very, very hard on the book, and I think the book is going to be wonderful for you guys. I think it's going to bless you. I would definitely encourage you to go out and buy the book. It is called The Last Book. You can get it directly on my website as well.
Let me just tie this together. We had maps of the Middle East. We're talking about, the situation. We're talking about the politics. Do you know that all of that, in the end, actually bottlenecks through the book of Revelation?
Yes, 100%.
I mean, everything that we talked about at the end leads to there. So again, I can go into the politics. I'm all excited about the new laser system that Israel's got up.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
that's going to change military. I mean, all that is fine. But in the end, it's all going to come to a head, and that's what the book is about.
Yeah, and it's a great book. It really is. It's one that I'm very proud of, and I've gotten some great compliments. It's funny. I never do this, but I might as well just go do it because I don't know. I might get myself in trouble. I'm gonna go to let me see here. Let me go to Amazon and see if I got any bad reviews yet. I probably shouldn't check that live.
Yeah, I mean, what happens if you do, or what happens if you don't?
I'm just gonna. Wow, that's crazy. Last time I checked, I had way less reviews. So I have 23 reviews, and they're all 5-star. That's cool. You guys are very encouraging. Thank you. That's good news. And we are we have made the #1 new release list on multiple occasions. We're very close to being on the #1 bestsellers list, the overall bestsellers list. But we are top new release in eschatology, #1. I'm just seeing that right now, which is awesome, super encouraging. And to be an actual #1 bestseller, to make the #1 bestsellers list, I'm only a few spaces away from that. Which, by the way, the reason why that's kind of a big deal is because it helps us get the word out more, right? Because then it pushes out. So that's why it's important. We really want people to actually, come out, review it, say good things. We love that. Love the kindness that you guys are showing. I'm reading these right now.
Mm-hmm.
Very kind words. I can't believe you guys are writing some of what you're writing. That's so sweet. Very encouraging, you guys. Thank you.
Everybody's
You know,
talking
probably
about
the
your
best-
sore throat.
Probably the best compliment that I could get on these reviews are people are saying they're learning it. You know, so thank you. And some of you guys, man, you guys ordered it already. It's
Yeah,
amazing. God
some
bless you guys.
James, 2026. What are we looking? What are we looking for? What do we want? What do we expect?
Christ to come back.
Amen.
Look, man, I'm going to talk a lot about that. Very, very much so tomorrow night. I'm going to
Okay.
talk about what to expect for the Bible prophecy update. We're going to air it tomorrow at 6:00. I hope you guys can join us. We will air it on this channel. So very much looking forward to that. I think it's going to be awesome. And I want to just encourage you guys to really take it very seriously. Take what's coming seriously. We're living in a world right now where you can't afford not to think about these things.
So,
Let me pontificate a little bit. What do I think is going to happen in 2026? I think 2026 will be the year of peace for Israel. As crazy as that sounds.
I know there's like we're on the edge of something that
Yeah.
needs to kind of let go. I mean, there's a blockage.
Yep.
I feel like there's a blockage, and it's got to let go. And I think Gaza is that blockage right now.
Yep.
And the minute that kind of gets solved, and then boom, everything's gonna kind of
I think
flow in a different direction.
I think Turkey will have more control over Syria than any other country by the time we get to the end of 2026. I think that Lebanon, the face of the Lebanese government, will completely change. I think southern Lebanon will become almost an international demilitarized zone. This is just me pontificating.
Yep.
I think Egypt will be instrumental in one way or another in getting Saudi Arabia to sign the Abraham Accords. As crazy as
Interesting.
it sounds, but that's what I think will happen.
Are they going to give in on the Somaliland thing? Because Egypt is much against this, but
That's going to be hard. Unless the African Union softens up. I don't see that happening. And then the other thing is, I think that Qatar, if they don't get their act together, is going to get rejected off of the Gulf Cooperation Council.
Interesting. I think there's a growing tension, by the way, between the UAE and Saudi Arabia. That's going to be something that we have to watch. The UAE is starting to take a more positive role. It's seeing what Qatar is doing, is going to try to do something similar.
That's my thing. I think that the tension that exists between the UAE and the royal family relates to Qatar. That's why I think Qatar is going to end up getting rejected.
Let's go. Oh, so we're going to have an interesting year. I mean,
I think so. Because I also think that the president of the United States might even encourage that. Because of the interest that it would create for us.
okay.
Because our
How do we
largest
end
base
this?
in the region is in Qatar.
How do we end this?
Um,
How do we end this year? Thank God. Thank
Yeah.
God, from whom all blessings flow.
Amen.
Thank
Amen.
you.
God has done so much for us this year. He's blessed me. He's blessed my family. He's blessed the ministry. I will make a prayer request. I pray that in 2026 we'll be in a new building. We need it.
Amen.
We,
That I know.
which by the way, we have an opportunity, it looks like, to maybe buy one that will meet all of our needs and put us almost instantly in an 800-seat sanctuary.
Ooh. Okay.
So I'm asking you guys to pray, not only for God to open up those doors, but for the money, that God would provide the money. This is the time to ask for that now.
Okay. All right. And, well, Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Look at this.
This is going to be an incredible year.
Wow.
It's going to be a crazy
This
year,
is-
and I'm looking forward to it. I think
I
it's going
know.
to be awesome.
I've had a complicated year too, and I want to say it's settling in, and the feeling that I get about what's happening also in Israel and the Middle East is also in my life. It's like I'm in the place where God wants me to be, and I'm settling into the role here. So thank you guys for your support, and thank you for your love. Me and Christy just want to say Happy New Year. Thanks for everything that happened last year, and let's go into a new year with a lot of fun.
I love having you here, bro. And your ministry is a blessing. It's been a blessing to all of us. And I knew that eventually you would come to know the Lord when I first met you back in those days where we were fighting tooth and nail. But I never thought in a million years we would be doing ministry together like this. And we even used to joke about fighting together.
Yeah, we did.
Not fighting against each other, but fighting together for Israel. We used to joke about that. And look at what God has done.
What God has done.
He's been so faithful. So, man, whoever's making biscuits, you're making me jealous.
Yeah. I do want to stress something that I've been feeling lately. It's been a year without Jeff, and I've kind of missed him.
I miss him.
And but the family is kind of reorganizing itself. And
he was the only one worthy of pastoring that church.
There's a whole discussion in
That's
that
a
one.
whole. But it's true.
Can we do that next year?
Yeah, one of these days. No, but you know what I mean. Listen. Pastor Jeff founded Calvary Chapel Downey.
Mm-hmm.
He ran his race well. He finished his race well. He never forsook the Lord. Never stole from the church. Never cheated on his wife.
Amen.
And loved God all the way through. I worked for Jeff for, 13 years before I started the work. This was our 20th year here at Calvary Chapel Signal Hill since I started it 20 years ago. And I always thought Jeff would be there for us on the 20th anniversary. We never made a big deal of it this year. I just thought that for our 20th anniversary, which was last week, that I would just share with everybody, how we started, our heart, that kind of a thing. But Jeff was one of the great ones, and we lost a great one. We lost a great one.
Yeah, but the family's gotten 2 new babies this year, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, listen, to God be the glory.
Amen.
God has a way of, I know the year that my dad went to go be with the Lord was the year that my son was born. So it's been one of those interesting seasons.
And we will see you next time.
Yeah.
Next year.
Yep. We love you guys. Thank you for all your encouragement. Thank you for the blessing you've been. David, you want to pray for us?
אבינו שבשמיים, תודה, תודה, תודה על כל מה שעשית איתנו השנה. Thank you for this year. Thank you for the changes. Thank you for the movement. Thank you that you have been shining through the geopolitics and the military and even in my personal and family and life. I want to thank you that your will be done as it is in heaven here on earth, and it will be continuing to be done as we go into this new year. Just thank you for everything. Thank you for Pastor James. Thank you for all the people watching and listening to us that have been such a blessing to me personally and to us here in this kind of concept. And just thank you for all of your grace. And we thank you in the name of Yeshua, your only begotten Son. Amen.
Amen. All right. We love you guys. God bless you. Happy New Year. Keep fighting the good fight. Do not miss. We will post it probably tonight. The live broadcast that we're going to do for my annual prophecy update. All right. Love you guys. Keep fighting the good fight.